Okay, so Masechet Metzia and Amud Yomi Shiur, Avas Shalom, Amud Yomi Shiur, and welcome to all our Torah Anytime viewers as well. We are in the actually second wide line of Samech Aleph Amud Beis, Ve'ezahu Talbis. I'm sorry if the screen is not so clear. I'm working on it. Okay, Ve'ezahu Talbis. We saw in the Mishnah defined two things, Neshech and Talbis. Okay, Neshech and Talbis, and then we said it's really one of the same. Why? Because at the end of the day, Neshech and Talbis are two sides of the same coin. Neshech means what? When you lend somebody with interest, you bite him, as if you bite into his pocket, into his flesh. And Tarbis means you gain money without any, without any investment, without any, any loss. So then the second part of the Mishnah said, Ve'ezu Tarbis. What's a Tarbis? Amam be'pero is the person who sells pears, he sells wheat. Ketzad lokach imenu chitim bedin razov v'chulei. We're not going now to the second case, but the second case was not a classical case of Ribis Doraisa, right? The second case for the response to the question, what's a tarbis, was not a regular tarbis, which is really a loan, but rather it was, describing something which is the Rabbanon, which is selling with a form of Ribis. We're not explaining now exactly how that sale works. The Gemara has another question. Atu, at the end of the day, kol hani damrinan ad hashta lav ribisu. All these items that we mentioned at the first part of the Mishnah of lending 4 and getting 5, lending 1 saw of wheat and getting 2, isn't that neshech and ribis? Because we said every time you lend, which avera are you over? Double avera straight away, neshech and ribis. Also the borrower is over neshech and ribis. And therefore, what's the Mishnah waking up all of a sudden and telling me, that's ribis? Well, ribis was already mentioned before. Ribis is already at the beginning of the Mishnah, not just the second case, which is the Rabbanon Dike one. Amabi Abo, that exactly is what the answer is. Adkan shel Torah. Up until now, which means the cases of the first part of the Mishnah, where it's a real loan, that's midoraisa. It's an issur doraisa to lend and borrow beribis. The second part of the Mishnah that discusses the purchase with the ribis involved, that is the Rabbanon. Ad kan shel Torah, mikan ve'elach shel divreim, up until the point of Ezehu ribis, which means Ezehu ribis the Rabbanon, it's Torah. Once we speak about the Rabbanon, that's a sale, and that's the second part of the Mishnah. When you sell beribis, what's a sale beribis? I'm asking you, I want to fix the price of, let's say, 25 for the wheat. Nobody has wheat. Nobody decided the price, and we know the price may be higher. And I will get 30 shekel, 30 dinar worth of wheat at the end of the day by investing 25. That's a ribis derabanan, which it didn't allow. Continues the Gemara to differentiate between the first part and the second part. And now we're going to talk about a whole different issue of Yerusha. What happens when a person is lo aleinu malva beribis, terrible thing, and he died, and he left his children money from ribis. The children are tzaddikim. That's the story we're going to describe. And they ask the Beis Din, what are we going to do? Can we benefit the Yerusha of ribis or not? So says the Gemara, Adkan, in the beginning of the Mishnah, the Oraisa, Yochin Rosha v'yilbash Tzadik. This is like a take on a pasuk. The pasuk says the Rosha prepares and the Tzadik wears, which means the Tzadik, the Rosha is the one who lent beribis, but he died before enjoying all or some of the sum. And the Tzadik, his son, really wants to know what's the right thing to do. He's going to wear, he'll enjoy, he'll benefit. He'll reap the benefit of his father, and that's okay. That's okay. In other words, it's not their fault. It's not so pashut, as we're going to see later. It's not so simple. You even have to return the money of ribis, even you yourself. Let alone your children don't have to give back the money that they inherited of the ribis. Wait a second. What are you telling me? Ad kan v'tuloi? 1 minute. We just learned a very big kula in ribis, a very big leniency, that the children, the heirs, don't have to give it back. Ad kan v'tuloi? You telling me what? Only the deoraisa they don't have to give back, which is ad kan, the beginning of the brisa, And the Mishnah, and the second part of the Mishnah, which is the Rabbanon, they do have to return. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and in such a case, Rabbanon would be more chomer than Doraisa. Usually, Rabbanon are more mekel than Doraisa. Not always, as we learned, but here there's no point of being gozer on them, right? You tell me the Doraisa they don't have to return, and Ribis the Rabbanon they do. Ella must be no. You have to read it differently. Afilu adkan yochinoshavil b'shtzadik. Afilu, even the first part, even the Doraisa. Yeah, even the Doraisa, Yochinoshavil Tzadik Letalon the Dorabanon. All forms of ribis, even Doraisa and Kol Shekin Dorabanon. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. In all cases, in all types of ribis, you always have to, not have to, but the children, the heirs, the Yoshim, they always benefit from the ribis. They don't have to give it back. Continues the Brisa, one more difference between the rice and the Rabbanon. Adkan, the rice is ribis ktsutza. The ribis, the rice is called ribis ktsutza. What's liktzotz? To cut. It's a cut out ribis. It's a decided, pre-decided ribis. At the time of the halva, it was decided that he has to give ribis, right? That's katzutz, decided, cut. Mashe'enken, mikan ve'elach, avak ribis. Mikan ve'elach, the second part of the Mishnah, talks about the dust of ribis, which is ribis derabanan. Okay, what's the difference? We said already that I said derabanan. Explains Rashi, and that leads us very nicely and smoothly to the next sugya. Do you or don't you have to return it? Here comes a huge question. Yeah, I'll first translate what the Gemara basically said. The Gemara at this point claims that if the ribis is the oraisa, and the loive paid the ribis to the malve, as he was supposed to by that bad agreement, then if the loive claims it back from the malve, the borrower claims from the lender, in Beis Din will force it out of the hands of the malve. You have trade for money in your hands. Let's speak very generally now. Give it back to the loive. That's only the oraisa. But the rabbanon, no. If it was ribis the rabbanon, let's say I invested 25 and I like inflation sometimes, yeah, when I'm the buyer, when I'm the whatever, yeah, then instead of 25 wheat, I got 30 wheat. So I have 5 shekel more in the wheat. That I do not have to return to the other person, not even if I claim it in Beis Din, because it's the rabbanon. So the rabbanon nikaribis, you don't have to return. If you have questions about returning, not returning, that will be the topic from now till the very, very end of the shiur. We're going to toss and turn and play around with this concept. Yes, no, maybe so. It's going to be all about, do you or don't you have to return ribis? So at the moment, please don't ask me questions of what if, because the questions will probably be asked by the Gemara itself. Yeah, short break for questions. Very good. Let's continue. Okay. So now we're going to see it's a machloikis. Okay, very good. Amar Blazo, we are in the middle of the wide lines. The line starts with Kan ve'elach. Amar Blazo, here starts fun. Here starts a machloikis, which we're going to analyze till the end of the Amud. Amar Blazo, ribis ktsutza yoytza b'dayonin, avak ribis ene yotza b'dayonin. Says Rabi Elazar, his one opinion. Rabi Elazar says, ribis ktsutza, if you took a ribis, the real deal, the doraisa, says Rashi, and say the Noisekalim afterwards in Shulchan Aruch, if the loive claims it from the what's his name, from the malve, in Beis Din will enforce it out of the hands of the lender, give it back to the borrower. Yeah, you took trade for money, give it back, to speak in general terms. Yeah. Now the Rabbanon, the Rabbanon, we apply different rules, different ideas to the Rabbanon. Rabbanon is not as strict. Rabbanon is not as strict. We are not as strict within the Rabbanon as we are within the Oraisa, and therefore we, in this case, Rabi Elazar says that it is the what's his name? The halacha says you cannot take it out of his hands. Once it's in the hands of the malveh, he gets it. Now we're going to see much more on that. Rabi Yochanan argues on Rabi Elazar. Here's the machloikis. Rabbi Yochanan says, "Afilu ribis ktsutza nami Ein yoytze b'dayonin. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Wow. Says Rabbi Yochanan no. Even ribis ktutza, even ribis daoraisa, the guy is a rosh gomu malve beribis, but you cannot take the ribis out of his hands, even if it's claimed in Beis Din. Beis Din cannot have the power of taking it from the malve, giving it back to the loive. The yonin cannot do that. Wow. Now the question is going to be why? On both accounts, both sides, why is it that you can or cannot give it back to the by Beis Din to the hands of the poor loive who paid ribis against halacha? I just want you to know, the more I go a little bit step by step into Ezo Neshech, I can see the ribis is very, very, very much in the borderline between Ben Odom Lamokom, Ben Odom Lachaveron, Ben Choshen Mishpat, and you're there. Very, very much so. And this is going to also be exemplified over here in the next few lines. Amar Bitzchok. Now, you have to remember the names of the opinions. Rabbi Yitzchak comes to explain my time with Rabbi Yochanan. Why did Rabbi Yochanan say what he said, that you do not return it to the original loive, to the loive who gave it? It says in the Pasuk, and this Pasuk is a Pasuk in the Novi, in Yechezkel, that uses very harsh words about the person who malve beribis. Beneshech nosan, he gave the money for neshech. Vital bislokach, he took the ribis, right? Very interesting. Neshech, he gives. He gave a bite, and he took a lot. He took everything with him. V'chai lo yichye, he's not going to live. That malve beribis. Eskola to evas ha'ela also. He did abominations. It's an abomination to do halva beribis. The pasuk finishes with the words mois yumos domav bo'yir. The Gemara doesn't say it, but the pasuk says he shall surely die. His blood will be in him, which means the blood of the other person is his fault. Very, very strong words. Now, halachically, it doesn't say that a malve beribis is chayav misa. You don't put him to death. But the Novi, figuratively, philosophically, does seem very, very, severely, as if he is at some level chayav misa. Therefore, says Rabbi Yochanan, based on that, he says, "Lemisa nitan v'lo shavoin." The punishment for taking ribis is not return it, but death. In other words, don't try and sell yourself short. In other words, don't try and get away with murder, as you say in English. Yeah. In other words, this person really deserves to die, which means it does not deserve to give it back. You can't just give it back and absolve yourself. Giving it back just won't do the trick. The Beis Din don't force it. Okay, that's soon we're going to speak about Bidin Shemayim. Ravada Barava gives another reason why, according to Rabbi Yochanan, you don't return the ribis in Beis Din. Omar Kro, it says in the pasuk in the Torah, in the pasuk itself, it says in Vayikro, in Kedoshim, Al tikach mito neshech v'tarbis. Don't take neshech v'tarbis from the poor borrower. You should fear Hashem. Why does it say you have to fear Hashem? You also have to fear Hashem. What does it have to do with the price of cheese? In other words, the Torah wants you to have your own yiras shamayim and not to give it back by dayonim. Meaning, explains the Nimukei Yosef. I'm going to have a major machlokes here. Nimukei Yosef explains the Torah wants you to have your own yiras shamayim. Between you and Hashem, you have to return the money. But this is not something that he deserves to get in Beis Din and be returned to him, to the borrower. In other words, as I told you, when it comes to ribis, it's not a regular case of theft or overpricing or cheating, right? We're there, of course you have to give it back, right? But I know you have to give back by gezel, here it's not so simple. It's more between you and Hashem. Just like between you and Hashem, you have to give a korban. Nobody's going to force you. You have to give your own korban, your own kapara. Your kapara is between you and Hashem. You want to give it back? That's very nice. But it's not a Beis Din issue. It's not a dinei mominus of Beis Din that they force you to do that. So it's either because it's too little of a punishment, or it's not something in the Choshen Mishpat area of Beis Din. Is there now big machlokes Rishonim, which you saw yesterday, between the Ritva and many others, and the Nimukei Yosef and many others, and Tosas brings both opinions. What about Ben Odom Lamokoim, which means, is there chiyuv bidei shamayim? According to Rabbi Yochanan, Beis Din cannot force it. It's not something that Beis Din, it's not up to It's not it is money, but it's not money. It's like I would eat chazir, let's say. Whatever chazir, yeah, that would latch me. That we'll discuss later about Malkos. Malkos will be discussed later. Maybe the Malva Beribis deserve lashes, like most other Averos. That leave that discussion for later. Yeah, but money, it's not about returning the money. What about Ben Adam Lamokim? Is there take a chiyuv bidei shamayim? Is there chiyuv hashavi bidei shamayim like we saw by Groma? That too, we saw that's a machloikis. Some Rishonim learn yes, there is a chiyuv bidei shamayim, and that's lemoiro. Yiras shamayim means there is a mamish chiyuv bidei shamayim, an absolute chiyuv like putting on your tefillin. You have a chiyuv to give back the money of the ribis that you got as a malveh. And some say no, it's a nice thing to do, nice and charitable, but it's not even chiyuv bidei shamayim. There's a big machloikis Rishonim all over the place. No. I'm getting excited. Yeah, people here are already used to me. No. Rabi Elazar says you give it back bedayonim. Rabi Elazar says you take him to Beis Din, just like you take your neighbor with a leaking from the roof. Yeah, we all go through that. Yeah, just like nothing personal. Everyone in the neighborhood has it. Yeah. Nezek or Gneva. Rabi Elazar says take him to Beis Din. He illegally took money from you because it's ribis. Take him to Beis Din and we'll see the reason why later. That's Rabi Elazar in Beis Din. Rabi Yochanan says no. In Beis Din you cannot take him to Beis Din. Beis Din will put a sad face and say we're sorry. However, machlokes Rishonim within Rabi Yochanan, although we all agree that within the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan you can't take to Beis Din, but let's say the Malva Beribis goes to the rabbi, whispers afterwards, Rabbi, am I chayav bedinei shamayim to give him? That's machlokes Rishonim. Betoch Rabbi Yochanan, get it? Well, Rabi Elazar says no, bedinei adam with shamayim. You owe it to him in Beis Din, fight it in court. Ooh, yeah, Beis Din will turn Rabbani. Let's just continue a little bit more with Rabbi Yochanan to get the picture. Rabi Omar, Rabi gives you a third reason within Rabbi Yochanan. Migufei dekra shmialei. We'll learn it from the actual pasuk in Yecheskel without having any extra drashos. Mois yumas dom of boy. It's that simple. Dom of boy. The blood of the borrower, misken, is a poor man, and you take interest and interest and interest. The person can be unhealthy and die from that. Yeah, it will be upon the head of the lender. Mal beribis is tantamount, is compared to a murderer. Just like a shofech dam, a murderer, can a murderer pay? Let's say murderer Beis Din says he's chayiv saif, yeah, and he says, okay, $10 million to the dayonim, and get away with murder? No, you can't. Kipshuto, excuse the pun. No, you can't. So too by ribis, it's so severe, you can't just pay with money. By the way, the difference between Rav and the first drosha is not the same. The first drosha says that he gets the punishment of a murderer. The second shot says it's not about the punishment, it's about the severity. In other words, just like you killed someone, it's a done deal, whatever the punishment may be. He's dead, you can't revive him. Oh, that would be a better mashal. According to, you can't revive the dead unless you're a Tanner and a Moira. You can't resuscitate the dead. So too, you can't give back the loan. This is Rabi Yochanan. So again, Rabi Yochanan believes, let's summarize. We focused on Rabi Yochanan. Soon we'll do Rabi Elazar. Now it's Rabi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, you cannot force a person to give you back the money of the halva beribis, not the capital. The interest cannot be given in Beis Din. It's too severe. It's too much. It's ben adam lamakom. It's not money to be given. I also want you to remember, everybody, it's also different to Gneva and Gzela and Oina because he was a willing partner. The borrower now says, oh, give me back my money. Lemaise, with all the pressure, the borrower was a willing partner. Yeah? Like many times partners in crime start blaming each other. At the end of the day, he was also masking. Yeah? So it's not exactly like theft over here. Just to put that in, that's a picture of Rabbi Yochanan. I have another thing to add, but I don't want to confuse you. 1 second, please. I wanted to get the other side and then questions. All this was so nice. What would Rabi Elazar say? What's Rabi Elazar's reason to say you do return the money? It's not theft. It's not veheshiv. Why do you have to give back the money that he willingly gave? That's how you say it. Which means your brother should live with you. Make sure your brother lives with you. Which means give him back the money that you lent him, and then you got the interest from him. that money you should give it back to him. So he should live with you. In other words, make sure that the poor man has what to live, and you took the money in a way that is halachically wrong. It's not theft, halachically wrong. Make sure that he lives and he's there, alive and supported, and that's why you have to give it back the ribis money. Okay. I want to point out something important here, and thank you for pointing it out in the question session we had, and that is, according to Rabi Elazar, nice, there is no chiyuv to return the loan. In other words, the chiyuv to return the loan is the mitzvah saseh. The chiyuv to return the extra from the loan, the ribis, is a separate mitzvah called v'chechi chaymochen. It's a mitzvah saseh d'oraisa, like put in tefillin, tzitzis, and sukkah and lulav. Nafkamina. Although we're going to see later on that there's a machloikes whether the person chaps malchus from Beis Din for the lav, for the prohibition, that's a separate story. Let's say the person refuses, according to Rabi Elazar, he's taken to Beis Din. The reason why he's taken to Beis Din and he's supposed to give the money is just like he's supposed to put on tefillin, tzitzis, and sukkah. Let me surprise you, or maybe not surprise you. The Gemara says, I think in Ksubas and other places, when you have Torah government in Eretz Yisrael, real Torah government, then if a person brazenly says, I'm not putting on tefillin, they hit him until he puts on tefillin. That's the law. That's the law of the country. Yeah, like Iran. Yeah, but the other way. Yeah, in other words, the law of the country is halacha. And therefore you smack the person, whatever you lash the person until it does the mitzvah. That's v'chechi chaymach. It's a mitzvah to say. It's a mitzvah to say. However, his money, his fields, and the chosim are not meshubad. They're not mortgaged for that, as opposed to alvo. Because again, it's not exactly a monetary thing. It's an action between you and Hashem. Even according to Rabi Elazar, there's a mitzvah to give the money to your friend that you got the ribis from, just like you have to put it tefillin, tzitzis, sukkah, and lulav. That's the issue here. We're going to stop the question soon. Sorry. Okay, one more question, and then we continue. Again, Rabi Elazar says you make. Rabi Elazar says the chechi chemach is a mitzvah saseh. And that's why you take him to Beis Din. He has to do mitzvah saseh, returning to the guy, just like he has to put on tefillin. Rabi Yochanan says there is no such mitzvah saseh. Rabbi Yochanan says he cannot be taken to Beis Din because there is no mitzvah whatsoever to return the loan. If there is an isser when you took it, but that's irreparable. That's it. You're doomed. There's no mitzvah saseh to correct it, which leads to the next question. Says the Gemara, if so, it begs the question. Rabbi Yochanan, hi b'chechi chaymach, my avid lei. So what does Rabbi Yochanan do with the words v'chechi chaymach? V'chechi chaymach, according to Rabi Elazar, means what? Make him live, which means give him back the loan, the ribis of the loan. Rabbi Yochanan doesn't believe in that. How would he translate and interpret the words v'chechi chaymach? What's he coming to tell me? And says the Gemara, mibayle, it comes to tell you the following. Look at the Tanya, as it says in the Brisa, very, very famous Brisa, which we teach in Ashkofa. Two people are walking in the way. Imagine yourself a very, 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 very hot and dry day in the Sinai desert or the Negev desert even. And what? And they are very, very thirsty. They are deathly thirsty. One of them carries with him a kiton shel mayim. He has his own jug, his own canteen, his own jug of water, nice neviot water. Im shoisin. Now, let's say there's 1 liter there, 1 liter of water there. Im shoisin shnehem mesim. If they both drink, they'll both die. Which means medically, their current medical situation is that if they drink less than an entire liter, then what? They're going to die. So half a liter will refresh them a little bit, but they're both going to die. It's not sufficient. Im shoisin echad mehen. If one of them drinks the entire liter, of water, Megia leYishuv, he can still survive, make it to the next kibbutz or mashav in the Negev, to Beersheva somewhere, and drink water over there, and the other one will die. Either both will die, or one will live and the other will die, or both will live temporarily longer. It's one of the sources of a lot of medical halacha, ethical halacha issues. You're prolonging the life of both a little bit, or opposed to one will die very quickly, the other one will live till 120. So what do you do in such a very, very crucial situation? Dosh ben Petoiro, a Tana called ben Petoiro said, Mutav shishtu shneim ve'yamusu. It's better they both drink and live a little bit and then die. And it's better than one of them watching his friend die. And by the way, this jug of water belongs to one of them, right? So Reuven should share half a liter of water with Shimon. Reuven and Shimon should share. He should share his and not see his friend death, even though they're both going to die eventually. Ad, that was Ben Petoyra. Ad Shabo Rabbi Akiva v'limid. Rabbi Akiva came and taught the different halacha. Says Rabbi Akiva, V'chei achicha imach, stressing imach, with you. Your brother should live and be supported, be sustained with you as long as you are also sustained. Your life comes before the life of your friend. So according to Rabbi Akiva, you have no chiyuv of giving your friend the tzedakah if you're going to die. Yeah, he will die. You first of all have to take care of yourself in order to what? Make sure you live. Imach, you are here, and he's invited to join your world. Imach, together with you, he should also live. That is what Rabi Yochanan is darshaning, following Rabbi Akiva from V'chei achicha imach. Does it have to do with ribbis? No, that's exactly Rabbi Yochanan's point. Rabbi Yochanan says no. V'chei achicha imach talks about priorities of tzedakah and pikuach nefesh. That's a whole different issue. And Rabbi Yochanan remains thinking that there is no chiyuv to return ribbis. Returning the ribbis, it's very bad, very nasty. He may get malkos, bad guy, the malva beribis. But to return, he's not going to return the money. He's not mechuyev, definitely not b'dinei adam, to return the money. But Rabbi Elazar believes that he does have to return. Let's remember the names. Rabbi Elazar zo as a zayin l'chazara. According to Rabbi Elazar, you have to be machzir. Rabbi Yochanan says you don't have to be machzir. Meisivi. Question on who? Let's see. Now we're going to talk again, Ellen, about the issue of the children who inherited. Let's see it now from a quote from Bava Kama. We learned it. We learned Bava Kama. The father of the children who are good kids because they're asking Beis Din what to do. They care about halacha, and the father left them big fat bank account with a lot of money of ribis that he accumulated during his life. Nice guy in inverted commas. Even though they know the money comes from ribis, they don't have to give it back to the original owner, to the borrower. They don't have to return it. Why is that? We're not going to the Sugis Bava Kama, but one thing we saw in the pasuk. What did the pasuk say? That the Rasha prepares, the Yilbash Tzaddik, the Tzaddik wears. That's what the pasuk says. The children don't have to worry about the father's inheritance being from ribis. Wait a second. What did you just say? The children don't have to return. That is, who does have to return? Himself. Super. Says the Gemara, Medayek the Gemara, Pavien chayv la'achzir. Oh, so you see the father does have to return. Who's stuck right now? Rabbi Yochanan's opinion. You see, you do have to return in Beis Din, right? And we assume it's a Beis Din thing, not Bidei Shamayim. So how does Rabbi Yochanan reply to that? Answers the Gemara. No. Bedinu meikra hadin. You're right. Bedinu davun nami lo mechayv la'achzir. Says Rabbi Yochanan. Really, the din halacha is the father does not have to return. Right? Neither father, kol sheken children don't have to return. So why did we talk about the children? It's misleading. Why did the Mishnah speak about the children? The I did the kaboy lemitni seifa. Because in the Seifa there is a case that only applies to children, Mimela, stylistically, right from the beginning of the Mishnah, we spoke about the children. What's a Seifa? Which case only applies to heirs, to Yoshim. And Niach lenavim pora betalis. Let's say the father left them a cow, or in today's terms it would be a car, C-A-R, a car. Betalis, let's say some nice clothes, they walk around the street with it. The chol dover hamisuyam, anything that's easily recognizable, and everybody down the street when they drive the Porsche or the other car, wear the nice suit. Everybody in the street points a finger and says, "Oh, this is the thing that he got either from Gzela, the dead father. He got it from Gzela, or in our case from Ribis." That chayovin lehachzir. That if it's an item that everybody easily recognizes as a very something that stands out and everybody knows it was stolen, or in our case, I'm saying both because both are true, or from Ribis, he lent a car, he lent a regular Subaru and he got back a Porsche, that they have to return the children. Why? So although ribis of the father does not have to be returned by the children, but if this is something that everybody walks down the street and the father's name will be tarnished for eternity, why? Because everybody will say that's the item that he stole or got the ribis, because of kibud avain, because of kavod ad, that they have to return, and that only applies to children, right? Obviously, because of course, what avada kibud av is towards the father. I'm not mechabed myself, mechabed av, and therefore, in this case, because it's only the children, so too the Reisha said that if it's something not recognizable, what did the Reisha say? Money in the drawer. Who knows about the money? Or some plastic chair at the end of the mirpeset. Got it beribis. Nobody knows. Nobody sees it. That they don't have to return. Neither does the father have to return, says Rabi Yochanan. But the father, he's not the topic of the Mishnah. The topic is kibud av, and the father has nothing to do with his own kibud av. Tani nami reisha. Excuse me, I stopped short. Therefore, Tani nami reisha bididu. That's why the reisha, as I explained to you, the reisha also spoke about the children themselves not having to return. Although, according to Rabi Yochanan, factually speaking, the father himself doesn't have to return either. So Rabi Yochanan can live with this Mishnah. By the way, still Mechlokas Rabi Elazar and Rabi Yochanan applies, right? Now that the children surely don't have to return. Why? Because Echin Rosh Yilbash Tzadik. Does the father have to return? That's still up to discussion. It just wasn't discussed in the Mishnah. Frag the Gemara, you talk about Kibud Av. Does any father in the world deserve to be respected and honored by his children? No. Frag the Gemara, Behani, those children, do they really have to, out of covet of the father, they have to really go out of the way and lose the car and lose the cow and lose the talis? Krikan, it says over here, the nasi be'amcha loy toir. This week's parsha, Baruch Hashem, Dover Bito Matoiv. We see in this week's parsha, you're not allowed to excuse my language, to curse. There's an issur deraisa of klola, of cursing, who and nasi be'amcha, somebody who's a nasi, who's a dayan, a melech in your nation, don't curse. What do you mean in your nation? What does that mean? The people that deserve respect, halachically, kibud av, hashavas aveda, v'chulei, oino, we've seen all over the Torah, are people who keep the Torah, but somebody, we all slip here and there. This Malveh Beribis is overtly over an Issa Doraisa. He can have a big black kippah and pays dangling down his cheeks, but so what? This person, the father, right, till the last moment, we assume, was Malveh Beribis, openly, overtly. He does not deserve to be respected by his children, no. And therefore, why are we concerned about and he is already dead. We care about keeping his good name. He shouldn't be remembered badly for for posterity. The guy is a Rasha. Answers the Gemara, must be, comes an answer to the Omar of Pinchas, Mishmei de Rove, just like Pinchas said on behalf of Rava, regarding a different sugya, the she'osa tshuva. We're talking about somebody who did teshuva, which means enachinami. If the father was a Rasha till the end of his life, never regretted being Malveh Beribis, he's going to tell you I'm Malveh Beribis because I support the moistness and I'm a good guy. He never did tshuva. He does not have to be respected after his death. However, this guy, which they do have to respect and give back the car, the big item, to respect his memory, is a person who did tshuva. He regretted the fact that he lent beribis, or that he stole. In this case, lent beribis. Practically, very practically, excuse me, he also tshuva, my boy gabe. If he did tshuva, why is the car still parked in his parking lot? In his garage. What's it doing there? What kind of tshuva? But he goes every day and says, I'm so sorry, I lent you beribis. I'm such a bad guy. I feel bad. People think to say, I feel bad, and therefore they can do all the bad things in the world. What do you mean? How come the car? How are you wearing the stuff you stole or got beribis? And you're sorry about it? Answers the Gemara, we're talking here in Echinami. He sincerely did tshuva. He closed down his, his ribis business, whatever. We know he did tshuva. He was in the process of returning. Maybe he returned one car to one guy. It could be. But that car, that stuff was left over in his possession. He just didn't make it, didn't manage to return everything before he died. By the way, that shows you, it just dawns at me as I'm inspired by you people, that everyone agrees that it's a good thing to return the item, right? Remember the machlokas? Rabi Yochanan, let's summarize. Rabi Elazar says, Beis Din, the loiva can claim against the malve and say, I want my money back. True, I was an accomplice. True, I was the wrong guy. I also played a role. But Lamaisa, this money is by him, and he has a chiyuv of the back. And says Rabi Elazar, absolutely, get a good Torah and Rabboni, fight it out in Beis Din. Rabbi Yochanan said what? No. It's a case between you and Hashem, and also returning the money just won't do the trick. Don't sell yourself short, the questions with the Nazi money, Germany, I'm not going there yet. Don't try to compensate for blood with money, and therefore it's not a Beis Din case. What was Machlokes Rishonim within Rabbi Yochanan? The Ritva says you're not chayv b'dinei shomayim even, and the Rif and the Nebuchadnezzar Yosef and his friends, they say you are chayv b'dinei shomayim. But we see one thing, that everyone agrees that it's definitely a good thing to return it. A real Baal Tshuva who regrets being a Malva Beribis should return the car, should return the cow. Maybe it's not a chiyuv of bidei shomayim, but it's a right thing to do. Okay, that seems to be agreed upon everyone because that's what the Gemara says. Okay, that's the last round of questions here. We have a lot of interesting questions around. Okay, one more point before we continue in a little bit of Iyun. That's in the Ritva. Can the loive be moichel the malve? Let's say Beis Din Paskin, Mr. Malve, you got to pay. Then the loive, comes and says, it's okay, I regret, he doesn't have to give it back to me. Says the Ritva, he cannot. The Machlokes Rishonim again. Why not? The Ritva brings down with Shem other Rishonim, it's not yours to be moichel. What is ribis? It's all the time dancing in that gray area between the rice, between Ben Adam Lamokim and Adam Lachaveroi. Can I tell you tomorrow, listen, I'm a liberal guy, I'm joking, of course, anyone online, yeah, parent, you don't have to wear tefillin tomorrow, it's okay, don't be so, I'm Moichel, you putting on tefillin, it's fine, that's more than insane. It's not me to be Moichel, you are putting on tefillin. That's beyond idiotic, yeah? Say some Rishonim, although it's a Machlokes, it's not yours to be Moichel. In other words, he has the chiyuv of the Chayimach, is not purely a Dinei Mom and Choshen Mishpat, I'm Tovea him. But rather, he has to give it back to me, bitzad, like putting on tefillin and taking the lulav. And therefore, some Rishonim hold, not all, that you cannot, once Beis Din Paskin, you have the chiyuv, they would hit him until he gives it back and should give it back. You want to be Michael, maybe give him a tonner later. But the mechila, right from the start, is just not yours. I'm just showing you again and again how we're dancing in Beis Din Chassan this year of, it's a chiyuv the oraisa like a korban. Somebody stole from you, the chomish v'osham. I can be Michael the chomish, I can't be Michael the osham. You stole from me and you lied, and you nishba. Now you're taking your korban. Oh, you don't need to bring your korban. It's not up to you to be Michael. You're a human being. Korban is to Hashem. Not exactly the same, but that's the kivun, which again I saw in the video, just to give some perspective. We have to continue now. Okay, we have 10 more minutes and still a long way to go. And here comes another question. Here comes another question. Okay, let's just see that everything works. Okay, weiter. Okay, Meisivi. Question, we're more or less in the middle of Samech Beis Amud Aleph in Bava Metzia. Line starts with the word lehachzir. We are in Meisivi. Meisivi, question from a Braisa. Hagazlonin, thieves, umalvei beribis, malveribis, people who, how is this called, usurpers? Somebody who lends beribis. So there's a word for it in English. Usurers. Right, usurer, yeah, people who lend beribis, usurer. Afal pishegavu machzirin. Even though they collected already, they have to give back. So what do you mean, even though they collected? When it comes to Malva Beribis, I understand. How many stages does Alva have, generally speaking? And we're going into it now. 2, in general. There's sitting, deciding, lending the money with Ribis, and then there's collecting. So even though you collected, it's never too late. You have to give it back to the borrower That's very much like, obviously, like Rabi Elazar, Machzirin, Zain Zain. Gazlonim, but what do you mean collecting when it comes to Gazlonim? Gazlonin, my af apishagovu ika. What do you mean the thief, even though he collected it already? A thief is not some fancy guy from the tax authorities or the bank or thing that comes to collect. He steals or he doesn't steal. No, there's no two stages, yeah? As the Gemara asks very, very clearly, gozul, gozul. If they stole, they stole. They're collecting when they steal. It's a one-step process. Eloi gozul, if you want to tell me what that the Gazlan has in mind, as good thieves, they plan for days and weeks the next move, right? If he's planning on stealing, but didn't yet collect it, Gazlan in Korisnu, how can you call him a Gazlan, right? In other words, if you're telling me what he has two stages, yeah, he didn't yet collect, he's not a Gazlan. A person who really, really wants to steal, maybe over Lo Sachmod, is not a Gazlan. The kids, like I told you, Gazlan has no two stages. He steals or he doesn't steal. And Malva has two stages. He does. He lent beribis. Yeah. 2 years later, comes collect all the ribis, right? That's two stages. That I understand. Ela ema, therefore must be, you have to reread the Brisa, and it says, Gazlonin umay nihu malve ribis. Gazlonin, in English, it's two letters. I-E, malve ribis. Gazlonin, that is malve ribis. Because again, the Malva Ribs is also a Gazlan, because you do have the aspect of taking money unjustifiably. You have to keep both minds all the time. It's Choshen Mishpat, you're there all the time. It's true that the guy agreed, but what kind of agreement is that? Not so pashut. So Lamaise, Malva Beribis, which is tantamount to a Gazlan, Afal Pishagovu, even though the Malva Beribis already cashed it in, already he raked all the cash of the Ribis, Machzirin. Is mechuyev to give back. Oy. What a punch against Rabi Yochanan's opinion. Very pro Rabi Elazar. You see, you do return the halva, the ribis also. So how can Rabbi Yochanan manage with that? Answers the Gemara, Tanohi, Machlokes Tanoim. Really, Lichora, Machlokes Rabbi Elazar, I'm sorry, Rabbi Elazar. Thank you for correcting me. It's Rabbi Elazar, not Rabbi Elazar. I'm sorry. It's Rabbi Elazar all the way. Machlokes Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yochanan is really Machlokes Tanoim. Yeah, which is not so good, by the way. That will be discussed later. Let's see how we reread the Machlokes Tanoim over here. The Tanya. It says like this in the Brisa. Small introduction, but very, very important. Very, very, very important introduction, which will save you a lot of work later. And that is, tell me please, what is the standard punishment, unless the Torah tells you Chiyuv Misa or something else, what's the standard punishment that is like the default punishment in the Torah for somebody who's doing a lo ta'aseh, who's breaking a Torah prohibition, unless it Malkos, Baruch Hashem, Malkos, yeah. What kind of lavim do not carry onish Malkos with them? A few of them. One of them is lav hanitak la'aseh. Let's say there is a lav Torah prohibition, but right next to it, the Torah says, if you do this, you can repair, you can revoke, you can do teshuvah by doing a mitzvah saseh. For example, yeah, it says lo tutir memenu ad boiker. You're a Kohen in Beis Hamikdash eating your chatas, let's say, eat the korban chatas. You're not allowed to leave it on purpose overnight till the morning. But if you did leave it overnight till the morning, ba'esh tisroifu, there's a mitzvah saseh of to burn it. Lo tikachem alabanim shalech teshalach. Don't take the children while the mother bird is there. What do? Instead, there is a quick solution. There is another solution of what? Send away the mother. So the Pasha Pshat, without going too deep into that, the issue is, instead of Malchus, why hitting someone? No, don't be slashed by, don't be whatever, whipped by Beis Din. There's a kosher solution. It can be reparable. It can be revoked, can be repaired. So therefore, there's no Malchus. The question is, what about Ribis? Really, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabi Elazar, and now we have Tanoim getting involved too. What are they really asking here? It's a very big question. When a person took Ribis and he has the money in his hand, he has, how do you say, a wad of cash? Yeah, he has a big wad of cash of Ribis, trade for money. Is that revocable? Is that reparable? Which means, even if he'll give it back now, it's not so simple that it's actually revocable. According to Rabbi Elazar, it is, because the Torah is the one who told you to give it back. There's a loita said, don't take Ribis and don't charge Ribis. There is a quick assay, instead of lashing him, there's a nice way out. Return it with the pasuk of B'chei achicha imach. That's Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, I told you, Rabbi Yochanan, who seems to be more lenient, is really more machmir. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, mister, you don't have an easy way out of just returning it by Beis Din, maybe not even B'dinei Shamayim, right? So according to some Rishonim, Baruch Hashem. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yochanan, you know what's going to happen to the guy? Ow! 39 lashes on his back. Because it's not reparable. If he'll give it back, it's a nice deed. Good Samaritan? Joking. Yeah? It's not really a mitzvah, a say that is the alternative of Malkos. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, if you just develop the thought, you cannot return it under the auspices of halacha. So what's the solution? Boom! It's a mitzvah, it's a lo taseh, sheyesh b'maaseh, it's an active lo taseh, boom, 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 39. So l'chayra, that's another development, Mechlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rabi Elazar. And let's see how the Tanaim get involved in that. Now that you have their introduction, you'll get it very clear. The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, Rabbi Nechemia v'Bleizer ben Yaakov poitrin es hamalve v'se'orev from Malkos, ed in big red letters. You have to, you poitrin, you exempt the malve, the person who lent the money, and the orev. Orev, we'll discuss more later, is the guarantor. He's also over the same affair as the other ones. Anybody who helps, aids and abates the Maisa of Halva is over which Avera? It's tricky. Which Avera is he over? Is he helping the Malva and the Loive do the Halva? Maybe also, no. Besides Lifnei Iver, he's actually over the Avera of Ribis. Ribis applies to the Malva, Loive, the Eidim, and the or of the guarantor, the lawyer, the whoever writes it, besides Lifnei Iver, actually is over the Avera of Ribis. Okay? So now, the Malve and the or of the guarantor do not get the Malchus the Leshes, because why? There's another solution. There is a mitzvah saseh, as I said, return it. When there is a good solution, a positive solution of mitzvah saseh, such as B'chei achicha imach, is what? Good. So no lashes. My kumaseh, what kind of kumaseh is there over here? What kind of solution is there to the guy who's steeped in ribis? Well, probably, lab mishum damrin and lu, probably would tell them, to the orev and the malde, whoever's involved, go back, get up, you guys, and give back the money. And it's a halachic thing, exactly like who? Like Rabi Elazar. That seems to be exactly like Rabi Elazar. There is a clear halachic route over here, a maslul of returning it in Beis Din. That's a lav which can be repaired by Beis Din, so to speak, can be amended in Beis Din, and therefore no malchus. And that is who's talking? Rabbi Nechemia, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Elazar. Don't get Rabbi Elazar is like Rabbi Elazar. Michlal, that is to say, the Tanakama Sova, lav bnei adurininu. Must be that Tanakama believes that they're not bnei aduri. Tanakama believes probably like who? Like Rabbi Yochanan, that there is no halachic way out. Don't get confused, guys. Even if he gives him back all the money, it's not a mitzvah saseh. Yeah? In order to avoid malchus, the Torah is the one who has to tell you there's a maslul, there's a direction, there's a trajectory. You did a lav. If there's no way out halachically, lashes. If there's a good way out, you took the kids, you quickly take out the mother, you do it, then you burn the chomet, the noisar, then the halacha prescribes a good, positive way out, there's no malchus. But she'enken lefi Rabbi Yochanan, even if you return the money, it's not a mitzvah saseh, right? I can do a lot of nice things, but they're not a clear mitzvah. It's chesed, but it's not mitzvah saseh directly connected to ribis. It's not a positive take on ribis, yeah? It's not the good side of ribis, stam. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yochanan, seems like he holds like those who argued on Rabbi Nechemia, Rabbi Elazar, and says that there is no kosher way out halachically because there is no returning in Beis Din. So the other solution is, ouch, 39 fingers on your back. Yeah, or two over here and one over there. So you see what? You see l'chayra, Mechlokes Amoraim is exactly like Mechlokes Tanoim. And as I know, you're going to tell me that is also not so good. Why? Because usually we don't like Amoraim to repeat Mechlokes Tanoim. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? We'll leave it at that. Yeah, keep you in suspense. Yeah, cliffhanger. See you, Metzia Hashem, on Sunday, and we'll continue. Daf Samach Beis Amud Aleph. Thank you very, very much. Atzlocha and a good Shabbos, and thank you to all our Torah Anytime listeners and viewers. Thank you.